So today's video is going to be something a bit different. It's going to be a very candid, open chat about my plans for financial independence and kind of where I'm up to with my plans on becoming an ISA millionaire. I wanted to just kind of let my hair down, literally, and talk to you guys on a very one-to-one level. It's not going to be in the typical format of a lot of my normal videos where they're super edited. I'm just going to talk very openly. And I think these are good because really I want to share my journey, what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. And I might do some more of these along the journey and along the way. So it's not scripted, I've got a few bullet points I want to talk about and I'm going to discuss them and break them down into 4 categories. The first is going to be my goals. What am I trying to achieve and what really am I trying to do with my life? The second is going to be housing costs and my living situation. And then I'm going to talk about work and my income. And the very last, I'm going to talk about my investments, what I've got and what I'm trying to achieve. And exactly where I'm up to on the investment scale of hitting the ISA target. So first up, let's talk about goals. Now, when you talk about financial independence or FIRE, everybody's talking about retirement. Well, I don't really think about it like that. And to be honest, a lot of these videos have things like retire at 35, retire at 40, all these hit keywords everybody wants to click on because they think it's amazing. But really, I don't want to do that. I don't really want to retire. And I think that is something that's super overlooked with financial independence in general. If you want to retire, you're probably doing something wrong. You probably haven't built the life that you want to achieve. And when you see these people who have retired, in fact, they're actually all still working. They've got books, they've got seminars, they're going to events, they're trying to get everybody doing the same thing, but it's still work. So if you can do that beforehand and you don't have to retire, which these people aren't really retiring, then you've kind of hit the jackpot. That will change when I have kids and my situation changes, but my life is super flexible. I can work when I want, I can live where I want, I can kind of adapt and do whatever I want. So I think instead of aiming for retirement, start thinking earlier, because FIRE is fantastic and it's a great long-term goal. But in the meantime, what are you doing with your life? And if you're going to die in a couple of years' time, which I hope you're not, but nobody knows, we could be dead tomorrow, what have you achieved? And are you going to be happy just saving all that money and not really doing what you want? So what I'm saying is my goal is pretty much not to retire. I still want to do something, but I want to make it more tailored to what I want to do. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. So I think in terms of my goals, probably my goals for my 30s are probably kids, buying a house again, maybe traveling some more and just doing work that I really enjoy. Now this leads me nicely into the second point, which is housing. Now, house is probably the hardest decision on my list and it's a thing that keeps me up at night all the time. Now this might sound crazy to some people because it's only really a house. Well, at the moment my living costs are really low. And that's because we're currently living with a family member, which is fantastic. So really overall my costs on a monthly basis are probably $500 for my rent and bills, including council tax. And then I would say my ongoing costs, so my Netflix, Amazon, gym, and things like petrol are probably about £200 a month. My biggest cost by far, which I know a lot of you will cringe at, is probably my food bill. Now my food bill is about £400 per month, and that's literally just from the supermarket. And I go to Aldi and Tesco every week to bring my costs down. The main reason for that is because I'm gluten-free and it's a rip-off, but also I like to eat healthy. And I think this is quite a controversial point, that a lot of people kind of say you should eat beans and toast. But I think the one investment you should make, being very health conscious, is eating good, healthy food. And I think by spending more money buying quality ingredients and eating more vegetables and fruit, which is expensive, believe it or not, then actually it's a great investment in yourself, your health and your well-being. So I would say my living costs are about £1,100 a month, and that's split between 2 of us. So actually to achieve that FIRE number between us with current living costs, between us, we would need 330,000, or on my own, just to cover my half, it would be 165, which I've actually already got. So technically, I've already achieved FIRE living at my current rate. Now, I'm not under any illusion. I am very sure that's going to go massively up in the future with things like kids, buying another property. Yes, we're in a fantastic position at the moment where we're utilising this low rate and it's allowing us to save, which is fantastic. Now, this is where, for me, it gets really tough with house. Now, I do have a couple of concerns. One, I sold my property right before the house prices went through the roof. It took me 18 months to sell my property, and now you can't buy houses quick enough. So I would say since then, my house would have gone up at least 10 to 20% in value. And this is only maybe 12 months ago. And now taking that money, and bear in mind, I had a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house for 260,000. Try buying that today with the same amount of money, you just will not find it. Given it's going to be dependent on the area, that wasn't a fantastic area. I would probably want to buy in a better area, so my costs for that house would probably be around £450,000. But that is in a good area. And also, rent has gone through the roof. My friend tried to rent a house yesterday for £900 a month, and that went instantly. My brother's buying a house and he's got literally 5 or 10 people behind him ready to buy the house if he drops out. So the housing market on the whole at the moment is just pretty terrifying. And it probably doesn't help that I watch all these holiday programs and you see the fantastic houses you can buy over there for pretty much half the price. So with the housing situation, I'm really not sure. Technically, I could probably afford a house up to 500 to 600,000, but really I would look across the spectrum. So I'm not really bothered about a lower end or a higher end. The property we're in at the moment is quite low cost, so I've kind of realised that you don't really need a big house and you adapt to where you are. But at the same time, I am from Wales, Bodada. That's pretty much as much Welsh as I know. But in the summer, we did some trips up Snowdon and just looking at the scenery and how beautiful the place is, or Betsy Coed, which is just down the road. If you guys get the chance to visit, these places are stunning. And actually having a house in North Wales where I'm able to just pop maybe 20 minutes to go up the mountain or 20 minutes to the beach, that kind of lifestyle is really appealing and something I would definitely consider paying for. I mean, it's all good and well me saving all of this money and waiting till I retire, but I want to enjoy my life along the way. And with that, I will literally put the minimum deposit to get a sensible rate of return and interest. Because I do realise that I'm obviously still much better off kind of investing the money and waiting long term. The other option, of course, would just be to rent, but I think looking at rent prices, they're just through the roof. The other option here, of course, is I can work from literally anywhere, so I'm considering whether to maybe just go abroad for a year or two. And with my partner being a teacher, if we bit the bullet and went somewhere like Dubai, she's actually able to get about 50 to 70,000 a year tax free. And if you were able to live relatively low cost over there, you would save a fortune. But it does depend on a couple of things. It depends where she gets a job, where we want to move to. Wales is particularly tricky because she's English and you need to be a fluent Welsh speaker. I'm not a fluent Welsh speaker. A lot of people aren't, so it's quite tricky. So the housing situation is quite a grey area. Let me know what you guys would do because I'd really appreciate your advice. Now in terms of work, my priorities have shifted quite a lot over the last few years. Now there is this kind of hustle culture around where everybody says work, 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 and you see these crazy morning routines, work schedules, and I don't really do it. I just work kind of when I want. Yes, I stick to kind of a 9 to 5, but I enjoy what I do. And I've got to this realization that my business is a web design business and I help clients, so I'm helping people grow their business, be really creative, and it's really fun day to day. And I love working with people and seeing them grow. A couple of my websites are now hitting like 1 million visits a year, and it's fantastic to see people getting the results they deserve. So I've kind of come to this realization, and I'm fortunate to be in this position where I can kind of say, I only want to work with people I want to work with. I've got recurring revenue that covers all of my bills and my costs, which is fantastic. So if I just wanted to, I could maintain that with a day or half a day a week. And then in my other time, I've got a few clients that I work with quite actively and just have a lot of fun and build really cool stuff. Now, in terms of improvements, the one improvement I would really like to make is YouTube. And I've given YouTube a go this year since January. It was a bit hit or miss at the start, but I've got to a point we've hit 3,000 subscribers, which is fantastic. And I can't believe there's 3,000 people subscribed to this channel, which just actually blows my mind. But I would like to make it more viable. Now, although I'm able to cover my income through my business, sometimes it feels quite hard to justify. Last week, for example, I think was probably the best video I've done so far, but it took 30 to 35 hours to put that video together. Now, I'll be lucky to make about £50 in total in return. Now, bearing in mind with my business, I charge £50 an hour. £50 for 1 hour's work versus £50 for 35 hours work is a huge difference. So hopefully in the next year, I'm going to be able to make YouTube way more viable. And I've got a few plans in mind how to do this. And the trick is, I suppose with YouTube, I've kind of realized that I kind of wanted to target a bit of everybody and I'm really just pushed to the UK, which isn't a bad thing, but I've got to be a bit more creative in how I can monetize the channel. And this isn't to make myself a multi-millionaire, it's just to make it viable for me to do it. Now, the reason I need to make this more viable is one, because of the amount of hours, But actually, when you see these people online, you realize what goes into it. So some people who are putting out videos have got maybe 2 people writing scripts, they've got 3 video editors, and that's how they're able to generate videos day to day. And if you look closely, you'll see their eyes just moving left to right, and they're reading a script that somebody else has written. Now, I don't want to get in a situation where I've got a script writer, but I would love somebody to help me with a video editing, which would really take off the workload. But obviously, to get to that point, it's going to take a few things. Now, this really has left me thinking what I want to build on YouTube and what the whole thing is I'm trying to achieve. Well, actually, when I look at it, I've managed to achieve something quite great. And it's not to big myself up, I've just been quite lucky and I've learned an awful lot along the way. I can work from home, I know about investing, and I've built loads of businesses online and worked with loads of people to build their own business. What I would really love to do is create some kind of community where people can join. They get kind of courses which teaches them exactly how to do these different kinds of businesses, as well as investing, and then I can kind of help people on a more one-to-one basis. And just create this kind of community of people who are all working towards the same goal and are going to achieve it. So you're kind of working your own job on your own terms, making as much money as you want to, as well as investing it and getting to that FIRE target. I also want to find some way to do kind of more frequent updates on my portfolio, maybe something like Patreon, but I'm not quite sure, and that would give somebody complete access to my portfolio. And I would also create a website, like there's a fantastic website which is Money to the Masses. I don't know if it would be like that, but it would be quite similar with lots of advice, kind of income reports, kind of guides on how to do these different things and how to get where you want to be. By doing that, when I work with advertisers, I can maybe get them to promote themselves on the website too. So those would hopefully generate me more income. My web design business is still doing really well on the sideline. I'm making about 6,000 to 10,000 a month. I don't publish that kind of out of respect to my clients. I'm happy to share everything else, but I think my business income and kind of how much I'm charging for all these different things should be a little bit private, just to respect them. But that's also something I could include within the site. So let's talk about my investments. So currently I have a few different investment accounts, and this was a big kind of decision as to where I wanted to go. So currently I've got my investment account, which is sitting around 108,000. Within crypto, I've got around 14,000 in a few different locations. I've also got £4,000 in a lifetime ISA. I've also got around £104,000 in cash, which I'm kind of sitting on to see what happens with the market, because let's be honest, the market is super high at the moment and the crypto market is super high and it's going to crash at some point. And I kind of want to have that cash available so I can jump back in. But I might do something with that. I might put it in things like premium bonds to get some kind of return, maybe look at some other bond options. And I'll be looking for key opportunities in the market where I think things can grow. I've also got a small account with £2,000 in, which is going to be a SIP account. And that's going to be part of a new challenge where I go from 0 right up to 100,000 or maybe $1 million. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work just yet. Now, this was really tricky for me because I had to decide if kind of ISA was my goal or how I was going to do it. So an ISA Millionaire is fantastic, but obviously there's that £20,000 a year limit. And now there's this thing called the lifetime ISA, but the problem is with the lifetime ISA, it locks my money up till I'm 60, which I didn't really like. But in the end, when you work out the free money they're giving you, works out to be about £50,000. So it's kind of hard to say no. But I'm also going to continue 16,000 towards my ISA, and by then it's going to be over $1 million. That's if I don't access it earlier, depending on how things go. Also, if I start this SIP, then by age 57, I'm hoping I can take 25% out lump sum and see how that goes. So by the time I'm 60, I will definitely have between 1 and 2 million. Now, what I have realized is that actually that's fantastic, but what I really have to work on myself is figuring out that it's okay to spend money along the way. So I think my priorities will change along the way. I will buy a nice house. I will go on nice holidays. I'll enjoy my life because, as my dad says, you don't want to be the richest man in the graveyard, which I think is actually a really nice way to think about your life. You need to enjoy life, but also work towards those goals. So I hope this was as useful and as honest as I wanted it to be. This is kind of all the things I'm thinking about. Please let me know what you think on all these kind of aspects and let me know where you're up to in your journey. I do read every comment and I'll try my best to respond to them. That's something I would really like to make as part of the community, is find a way to help people on a more one-to-one basis, because I get some comments and if somebody asks me 7 questions about which ones to buy, what to sell, what to do, I mean, it's literally about 3 days work for me to do some proper analysis and give you a solid answer. So please do comment. I'll try my best to respond to every single one. I'm sure this is going to be a wild ride and things are going to swap and change and differ along the way. So I'll keep you guys updated and let's keep the conversation open. And Thank you as always for watching.